Welcome. So this is going to be the first video of this type that I have ever created for YouTube. I was going to live stream it on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, but my internet will not allow that. But if you are interested, I do have other stuff on Twitch, and you can find the link down below. So if you're interested, I also do a lot of gaming on Twitch. So again, I haven't done one of these videos before, fundamentally because I believe everybody has the right to think what they want to think, believe what they want to believe, and it's really none of my business to get involved. But when I saw this, it kind of put, what do they say? A bird in my cap? A bee in my, I don't know. Fundamentally because it made me think, and I wanted to see whether or not there was any truth to this in terms of my own decision-making process. Again, nothing to do with what I want you guys to think. You guys can think whatever you want. But I thought I would share what I went through in terms of figuring this out and taking a look at it. So it has to do with flat Earth and round Earth, or global Earth, I guess. And I saw two pictures when I was doing some research. And one of them proves that, I should put that in quotes, proves that the Earth is flat. And one of them proves that the Earth is a globe. And there was much debate. So I was watching a live feed about this debate. And the concept that was brought up was optical drop, which I had never heard of before. So I thought I would investigate that. So here are the rules. If there's a rule, when I compare these two images, the rule has to apply to both sides. So if one side's claiming something, then that claim has to obviously be for both images. One more thing. I'm not going to be doing any math or science. I'm thinking about the concepts. So I've got a couple of experiments, or one experiment, a couple more images to look at, but it's the concept I'm looking at. So yeah, I'm not doing any math because, again, it's the concepts. And if the concept makes sense, then later on down the road, maybe we can do the math to prove it. But I'm just simply looking at it conceptually. So there's an idea. Let's look at the concept. If we agree with that concept, or if we kind of like that concept, and then we can start going into the math. If you can predict something using your math, then that kind of makes it true. And until we can make a prediction. So, for example, I think everybody across the board agrees that objects accelerate towards the Earth, flat or globe, at 9.8 meters per second squared. Different sides have different ideas as to what makes objects accelerate towards the Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, but there is an agreement across the board that that happens. And I mean, that's easy to achieve, right? We think about it, we drop an object, we see it fall to the ground. So that's kind of the concept. That's what we're doing now. We're going to do the conceptual stuff. Once we've seen that, then we can do the math and calculate that it falls to the ground at 9.8 meters per second squared. And then to prove that, we can do a prediction. So if I drop an object from 10 meters, if I assume it's accelerating at 9.8 meters per second squared, take into account friction from the atmosphere, I can accurately predict how fast it's going to be when it hits the ground. And that's something I do all the time. I'm a rope rescue guy, so we do those calculations every time we set up a system to make sure that make sure our ropes are going to have enough strength to hold the amount of force that'll be put on the rope, depending on the distance of a fall. Rope rescue, not so much as rock climbing, but anyway, you get the idea. So those are the kind of concepts. I'm kind of rambling now, so let's get right into it. Okay, so here are the two images in question. So this image proves that the Earth is flat, and they call it the black swan image. And then this is the image that proves that the Earth is a globe. So we're going to explore these two images. And one of the, again, the big things that we're going to be looking at is in a video. I saw something that the big argument was that it's optical drop and not curvature of the Earth that is creating something. So we're going to look at this image. We're going to explore optical drop. Okay, so let's start with the concept of optical drop. So why the globe earthers say that this is proof that the world is a globe is because of the fact that there's a lot more mountain down here that we can't see. So because we have our point of view is nice and low down to the ground, we should technically be able to see the base of that mountain as well. And then what the argument was from the people that believe in the flat earth was that there is an optical drop that causes the light to bend. Or not the light to bend, but I don't know how they didn't get into that much detail, but basically causes from your point of view, causes it to drop in your point of view. And I'll show the exact video that they used, the little experiment they used to demonstrate that. And then I repeated the experiment to see if I got the same results, and I altered it slightly to give me some even more information, and we'll show that one as well. But so that's kind of the concept. So let's put that into, just explain that a little more detail. This is the point of view of the observer. Ta-da! And this is Blackpool Tower. Blackpool Tower, the tower you see there in the image. Not much of a drawer. That's why I use images. Oh, I can draw the line with the ruler. Oh, that's good to know. So let's draw that line with the ruler. And then we can get rid of the ruler. And then these are the mountains behind it. So right now they kind of looks like flames, I know, but they kind of look like this. If we look at the mountain in the Google Earth, which we'll show you later, there's a whole bunch of stuff here below what should be ground level. So globe earthers are saying, I can't see this, so that means that the Earth is curved. Not to scale here at all. But the flat earthers are saying, no, it's not a curve of the Earth. It is optical drop. So that means as I look at the image, this mountain actually will drop because of optical drop. So flat earthers say it should look like this if it was flat, and the globe earthers, should say it should look like that if it's flat, because we should see the base, right? It's cutting off here. But the flat earthers are saying, no, we only see this much because this whole mountain is going to drop down in your sight, in your vision, in your perception, because of the concept of optical drop. So again, this is a new principle that I have never heard of, so I really wanted to explore this. Like I said, I'm better with images. So here's the image, and I've put in the background here. When we look at Google Earth, these are the same mountains from Google Earth, right? So we kind of overlay them. Those are pretty much the same mountains. I think everybody can kind of agree on that. And when we look at the image, let me put this one back, but just make it a little less opaque so we can see them both at the same time. Too opaque. There we go. So what the globe earthers are saying, that if it was indeed a flat Earth, what I should see is all of this mountain. So there's the base of the mountain according to Google, and that's sea level. So let's bring that down to sea level. So that's about sea level there. So the globe earthers are saying that if the Earth was indeed flat, we should see this. And even if we're above, if we go for our point of view above the fact that we're not right at sea level in this photo, we'll bring it down a little more to take into account the angles of line of sight angles. So globe earthers are saying it should look like that because of the fact that the Earth is flat. And the fact that it doesn't, globe earthers are saying that it's the actual, sorry, I'm trying to get this just right here. It's the actual curvature of the Earth. So as the bottom of this mountain, oops, wrong one. Sorry, let's put that back to where it was. There we go. So yeah, the globe earthers are saying that it's the curve of the globe that's making the bottom of this mountain drop down out of view. So as the globe curves around, that mountain is following the curve of the globe, and that's why we only see, line that up again, that much of it is the theory. Whereas the flat Earth theory is optical drop, which says that it's not the curve of the Earth that's making the top of that mountain drop down, that it's a principle, I guess we'll call it a principle, called optical drop. So let's look at the optical drop explanation first. Okay, so this video was taken right from the live stream. If I remember, I'll try to put a link to that live stream down below. It's on YouTube. And it was, I must say, the best run debate from a gentleman called Conspiracy Cats that I have seen against these two sides, we'll call it. There is a lot of bullying between the two sides, and to be honest, there's a couple of websites that are fairly large, I guess, that I won't go to because they're just bullies. And I mean, there's no room for bullying when it comes to intellectual concepts. So I have ignored those websites and found the information from them in other places. So this was a very well run debate. And this was the gentleman on the flat Earth side. I'm afraid I cannot remember your name. I apologize for that. But again, I'll post a link down below so you can find it online. And again, kudos to Conspiracy Cats for running a debate that was well mannered and intellectually based and idea based, and it never turned into a shouting match. Now, some of the comments were a little bit different, but you don't have any control over that. So let's watch the video first. So this was, again, the gentleman on the flat Earth side explaining an optical drop.
So there we have the same object just turned the opposite way. That's a totally flat object. You can see it in the video. So I just want to play it from there, right? Sorry. And you will see it as I move it away and across a flat plane, it optically drops below the center frame. And the more I move it, the further below it drops. This is something people thought was not possible, but they see it all the time.
This is the same video. Now I just overlaid a ruler here just to make the observations a little more obvious. And this is the program I'm using to make lines, because you've already seen how well I draw on a whiteboard without any line stuff. So yeah, let's take a look at this. So let's get to where we can have a clear line just to start off with. That's probably clear enough to draw a line, I would think, isn't it? And let's go this color here for our initial line. So the line is, no, I wanted to draw a line. There we go. The line is here. Oh, let's go a little higher. The line's about here. All right. So then as I zoom the video, oops. Still getting used to this brand new program. So then as we advance the video, so again, we're looking at that straight line across the bottom by the logo there. So as I go to its farthest point away, where I can still see it, let's go to this farthest point away here. Oh, I can't see that very well, but there's a logo. That looks like the line there. So let's draw another one. Let's make this a smaller line so it's a little more obvious. So now the line is about, should we say here? Would everybody agree? Oh, did it again. So when it's back here, it's level with the top line. Oh, I can even move that up a little bit higher. Why don't we do that? Why don't we erase that line? And let's use the thin one again. And we're going to go from, let's go from the top, just so that it's obvious. I've gone from the top of the line now. And when I scroll down, wow, lots of little lines. And when I go away down to the bottom, it drops. Sweet. All right, so we do see an obvious drop. The ruler numbers don't matter. It's just to be kind of give us an idea of how much that drops. So from the top of the line to, that might be the bottom of the line. The line is so small back there. So the pink one is, I agree. Your line of sight is dropping. But the other thing I noticed that hasn't been brought up, and let's just go to here, is, so this would be the top of the mountain, I would assume, in this optical drop theory. So this is the top of the mountain. Then let's make this, let's put it in blue. No, let's put it green because it's a mountain. Let's make this the bottom of the mountain. So it starts here. Oh, every single time. And then when I go to my max, there we go. So now the bottom of the mountain would be here. So the top of the mountain, where's my drawer? The top of the mountain dropped from one level to another. That's supposed to be an arrow. But the bottom of the mountain raised, in my perception, from one level to another. And this is, I'm sure, all because of your point of view, where you are from the ground. The difference in the raise was, I think everybody would agree, much more significant than the distance of the drop. So let me put that in black so it's more obvious there. I don't want my magician friends watching and saying I'm purposely using misdirection. So we have a raise in the base and a drop in the middle, or the top. Actually, let's look at the top. Let's see what the top does, shall we? We'll come right back here, because this one's more with our point of view in terms of we are right level with it. Let me wait till I can get to the top. All right, so there's a top. So we're going to kind of have to guess where the top is. Because we start so close. So let's, for shits and giggles, we'll assume the difference is much greater because we didn't catch it until too late. But the top one right now is here. Make it a shift to make it a horizontal line. I forgot I could do that. And then we, every time, you guys can place money on that later. And then as we go back to the farthest most point, which is about here, yeah, about there. So now we have the top here. And again, this one has dropped, right? Yeah, dropped. Oh, let's put this where we can see it. So we have the top coming down, we have the bottom coming up, and we have the middle in our line of sight about the same. So to me, what that is representing is simply scale. But again, benefit of the doubt until I look into it a little more deeply. But when I watched this video, that was the first thing I noticed. So what I thought to myself is, fine, in this image, oh wait, I suppose I got to go back to here. In this image, the top of the mountain, ignore those lines, I got to clear them now. How do I clear all the lines? In this image, then, the top of the mountain would come down, agreed. My point of view would be about the same, whatever angle I'm sitting at. But then correspondingly, the bottom of the mountain should come up. And if we look at the sides, they also shrink down. So let's assume it's shrunk by the side. But then the bottom of the mountain should also come up. So I should technically see, I can't do it here because it's going to warp the image, but I should technically see the bottom of the mountain coming up as well. So we would definitely see much more of the mountain than we do, right? If we look at how much of this mountain, according to Google Earth, let me go right up here. If we look at how much of that mountain is hiding below the horizon line, that should come up, in my opinion, looking at that little experiment. So I thought, let's try it on my own and see what happens. All right, so I basically repeated the experiment. So let's try this again with my repetition, and I'll just show you a little bit how I set this up, just so that we can all agree on the controls and know exactly what I was doing. I just also noticed that I had all my Twitch overlays up. I apologize for that, but again, if you're interested, I'll put the link to my Twitch account down below. This is the camera that was taking, cell phone camera that was taking the image. And I propped it up with a vitamin jar, and I assured that it remained square by having it on the square. So this is perpendicular to the plane, which we're calling the Earth. And then this was my close object, and I used another square just to make sure again that it was perpendicular and straight up and down. The numbers really don't matter, although they do help kind of figure out what's going on. And then what I added was, and this is attached to here, so there's no moving that. But what I added was a farther away object, and that farther away object is again attached. It's double-sided taped to this metal ruler. So the distance between these two is always going to remain constant. And so when I slide them back and forth, I will slide them back and forth as a unit. And I added the tape because I couldn't see the numbers in the first video. So I added the tape just as a reference point so that I could see what was going on. All right, so that's the setup. So we have that permanently affixed with double-sided tape. It comes to this joint, which is, again, let me go a little farther, permanently affixed with double-sided tape, and then my square is attached to that. Again, with double-sided tape, there's a clear ruler here. You can't see that, but it's a clear plastic ruler. You can kind of see it. There you go. Now you can see it. And then I made sure my camera was on the table and perpendicular to the ground level. The other thing you can't see in this video, unless I go a little farther, sorry if I'm making you seasick, there we go, is that I lined up the edge with the edge so I can try to kind of keep things consistent when we're going back and forth. By no means a perfect experiment, but I think it's as controlled as I could make it, especially when we were just comparing it to the other video. And then for the first one, let's do the high one first. So I did it with the camera oriented in two different ways. So this is the high one. This is the first one. So these are the lenses. This is the camera on the desk. And I don't know if you care about the measurement, but This camera is about 2.5 inches off the surface of the earth, of the table, right? And then again, I overlaid a ruler onto this just to make things a little more obvious. So let's take a look-see at that first one. So my point of view, I don't know if we need the ruler. Do we need the ruler? Let's go without the ruler. Let's just go raw footage, just so I'm not accused of altering the video. So here's the raw footage. So I thought it interesting that this farther away one, let's pause this for a second. This farther away one is almost at 2.5 inches. That was totally by fluke. I did not measure that. I don't know how far off the ground that is. This measurement here is not inches. This is a 50-to-1 scale metric drafting ruler. Because it's triangular, it was easy for me to tape it to the other ruler. But those aren't inches, and those are not centimeters either. So these measurements really don't count. It's the level of the tape that we're going to be looking at. And then all I did simply was slide it away. And slid it back. So that is the experiment. So again, this is with the camera at 2.5 inches off the ground. So let's start with, now I'm going to put the ruler one back, just because the ruler one gives us some references. So again, when we look at the image, when we look at the video, video is exactly the same as the other one. All I did was superimpose that ruler over it just to help us take some of these measurements like we did in the last video. All right, so let's start at the front. Excuse my fat fingers. And let's look at our point of view, which is again about 2.5 inches off the ground, so about here. And we'll put that line in first. Where did I put that part? Where'd that guy go? He's gone. There he is. Can I not do him on a video? There he is. All right, so we'll start with a 2.5 inch line, and this is the middle, so the middle was pink, right? So we'll start here, hit shift so that it's made horizontal automatically, our 2.5 inch line. And then our base, our earth, was green. This is the foreground, so in the background, let's do the same thing, shall we? I need to have something that's more obvious. So let's go from the base here. So this is our background one. Right from the middle base. Oh, that didn't work. Control Z that. I let go of my shift too. And just to make this a little more, let's go right from that corner. Hitting shift again so that it forces it into a horizontal line. All right, so bottom of the tape, about 2.5 inches up this little ruler. And just for shits and giggles, excuse my language, let's put the base of this as well. So the base of this is about here. And again, just for giggles, let's put the base of this one in as well. So the base of this goes down as low as we can with an actual mark about here. All right, so we got bottom, base, tape, and ruler. And then when I slide this out, every single time, I'll learn it eventually. So when I slide this out, let's go to the max here. That's about max there, wouldn't you say? Oops. Nope, let's go max here. That's max. So now, oh, I can't remember which was which now. Blue was the base of this. So let's go back to my line drawing. And it was right in the corner here. I'll draw that line over here. So the blue has come up significantly. I have to go back now and figure out which was which. Am I back on this yet? Ha ha ha, I did it first try. Let's come back and figure out which was which. So the blue is the base. Oh, the brown is the base. Okay, brown and green are the base of those two, or those two. All right, so that's about as far. So then the brown is the base of this. Oh, why you got to be like that? No, I didn't go the other way. So the brown is the base of this one. Oh my goodness. It's a brand new program. I'll learn it. I'll learn it eventually. Brown is the base of this one. There we go. So brown has also come up, although not quite as significantly. Blues come up, browns come up. Green was the base of that. So green, which is at about camera level, went from there. And again, we moved it here. So it has moved. Let's go down a little bit more just to make it visible. We'll give it some exaggerated movement, maybe. So at the same level as the observer, very little movement. And then the pink was at our 2.5 inch line. Was it 2.5 or was it 2? Let's go back and find out. 2.5. So then our pink, 2.5, has had an actual drop. So pink has dropped. All right, so then if we look at these, the blue represents, let me go back to here, the mountain, right? No, the brown was, I don't know. Brown is the mountain. Brown and green. So if we look at brown and green, the top of the mountain has moved very little. The green, and the base of the mountain has moved quite substantially in the upward direction. This is the one behind the original one. So we're calling that the mountain and that the tower. All right, that doesn't really follow it yet. But again, this could be our perspective. So now let's look at the tower. So the tower was blue and pink. Oh, and if you look at green and brown, the mountain has got much smaller overall. It's shrunk overall. And now let's look at the tower, which was blue and pink. So now we go back to here. So now the tower has got, again, significantly smaller. Blue and pink here. Blue and pink here. The top has actually dropped and the base has come up substantially. Very much a big rise in the base. All right, so big base. So this is raised up and shrunk. All right. Good to know. Okay, so now let's clear these ones. So the both bottoms have raised substantially. The tops, not so much. And the both of them have shrunk drastically. And that's because my point of view, my camera height is about here. So if we look at my camera height again and look at how things are shrinking and growing based on the camera height, things don't change a hell of a lot based on my camera height. Good to know. Bottoms are moving a lot. Tops are hardly moving at all. So let's clear that. So then I did this again, this time with the camera right on the ground. I flipped it over. So now the camera is, you can't really see that less than the ground, but that's about 1/4 inch off the ground. I'm sorry, my ruler wasn't very straight. Close to the ground as I can get it. Let's see what the difference is, shall we? Let me get rid of some of these videos so my computer doesn't go, whoa. Should we go right to the ruler? Do you trust me yet? Probably not. All right. So here it is with the camera on the ground. Same thing, we did an out. I was a little better at keeping it, a little worse at keeping it straight this time. Oh, my buddy's going to be so mad that I put his name in here. And then back up. Okay. So then here it is with the ruler. So let's get this ruler back. Pause. And again, the ruler is just so we can see how things have changed. All right, so now let's make, we're right at the ground here. So let's make pink the tower. I'm going to go a little bigger this time because it was hard to see last time. So here's the base of the tower. Oh, here's the base of the tower, we'll say. And should we use 2.5 inches again? Because we used it last time? Sure, what the hell. There's the top. So that's our tower. Thick line is tower close. And then here, we'll make the mountain. Blue didn't work that didn't work very well last time. So now here's the base of the mountain, and we used the bottom last time. Let's use the bottom this time, just so we're consistent. So now we have mountain, and we have tower close to us. How come I had more anyway? All right, so then let's go to the max and see how every single time. You guys can help me out at any time. Now we scroll this down, slide this down to the back. Oh, that's about as far as we're going to go. Oh, sorry, let's go back here and see where our camera is. So our camera is probably about, we did that in a dash line, didn't we? Our camera is probably about here, give or take a little bit. All right, now let's scroll this back down to the back. Oh, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it. So scroll this to the back. Stop in there. So now the base, pink was our tower. That's right, pink was our tower. Let's make it a little smaller so I can tell the difference. So now the base of the tower is here. And we went to 2.5 again. The top of the tower is here. All right, so with it at ground level, we have a much more significant drop in the top of the tower and a much less significant rise in the top of the tower. So rise in the bottom of the tower, my bad, sorry. And now if we measure the mountain, which was green, and the bottom of the mountain is here. And the top of the mountain is here. So we still have, we have quite still a drop in the top of the mountain, but we have a rise still in the bottom of the mountain. Not as significant. So I would say that the rise in the tower at this point is a little more than the rise in the mountain. But the mountain is still coming up. The bottom is coming up and the top is coming down. Just like the tower, the top has come down significantly more than the mountains in the background has come down, right? Everybody agree that pink, if we look at that 2.5 mark, oh, remembered that time. If we look at that 2.5 inch mark, it is having a significant drop as we go away from our point of view. And the bottom of that tower, minimal minimal drop, minimal raise at all. And that's only because I couldn't get the camera right down on the ground. I would suspect, looking at what we just looked at, the closer to the ground, the less this is going to happen, the less we're going to have a raise in the ground level, because it's going to be at the same point of view. And then if we look at the mountains in the background, we have much less in both directions. Interesting. Very interesting. What I do find extremely interesting is how the farther away we go, the closer together the two bases get. Right? So here's the base of the front object, the tower, and here's the base of the mountain. And at fully away, optical drop has caused those two bases to be at pretty much the same level. And as we got farther away, if we continued the trend, then the tower would get even smaller, the mountain would get even smaller, but this would pretty much remain the same. Interesting. Okay, so looking at this image again then, so it looks like the camera is fairly close to the ground, and I think that's what was stated in the video that I watched about this. The camera is pretty much at sea level or on the ground. So at sea level, we've got a great distance here. And if we go back to our video, over a great distance, the two grounds at ground level vantage point kind of leveled out. The tower had a significant drop, and the background had not as significant a drop. And that was with a fixed vantage point away. So, and again, I don't really care about the numbers, but we could say that the tower would have a significant drop, which makes sense. If I was standing in front of the tower here, it would be out of the frame of view of the camera. And the mountains, because they're in the background, have a less significant drop. That totally makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me, though, in this image is that according to our optical drop theory, the bases should have come up to meet. So I should see the base of the mountain in line with the base of the tower. And again, if we look at this image, so with optical drop, let me see if I can scale it to what it would look like if optical drop were indeed what was going on. So we would shrink it down at the top, we would bring it up at the bottom, it was all happening. So it would kind of be like, it comes up at the top, I need to bring the top down, bottom up. So the top would come down significantly, but the bottom would come up. This is not really going to be the best scale because we don't really have the starting point, but it would be something along the lines of that at least, right? Our bottoms have now matched up. Let me bring that down to sea level just to make everybody a lot happier. And the tops would have come down significantly more, but at sea level, the bottoms on a flat plane should be level. So that's what it should look like if optical drop is the causation of this. I personally don't think that it is. And that's just by doing this little experiment again with the camera, the vantage point at ground level. Because again, we have them a little bit away, not too far. And again, I'm not totally at ground level even. And then with the camera, as farther away we get, the closer the two bases get. They're not exactly yet, but I'm sure the farther away we went, if we follow the trend, they would match up. So I agree. The top of the mountain is dropping. But I think what was lacking from that theory is that the bottom of the mountain is also coming up. And I don't know if I would call that optical drop per se, or if I would just call it scale. So if we look at images like this, where we've got different focal points, these are different lenses, but it's the same thing, right? It changes my focal point. You can see clearly in these as well that not only does the top drop, this top has dropped significantly from here to here, but the bottom also raises up. And you can see the bottom of this one has raised up significantly from here, which is pretty much what we did here, right? We have camera at base level. The bottoms are pretty much coming together and the tops are not. Whereas we compare it to camera at mid-level, the bottoms become, oh, even still, the bottoms are coming closer together, are they not? Oh, gonna have to put some more lines on. Let's just do the bottoms. Stop. Over here, bottoms. So green for the bottom here. Oh, I swear to God, eventually I'll get used to this program. Shift to keep it horizontal, base. And then red for the base here, base. And then as I go to the far end, there you go. I'm making everybody feel really good about how quickly they learn programs. So now let's make them thicker so it's more obvious. Now this is the base here. I gotta hit the line first and then click on it, hit shift, move it over. Change the color, click on it, click on it, hit shift, move it over. All right, so even when the camera is farther away, the bases of the two are getting drastically closer together. So that distance is shrinking. No matter what the angle is, the bases are getting closer together. The tops are getting farther apart, but the bases are getting closer together. And now let me just clarify that one again as well. So bases are getting closer together. And I almost swore. Let's go to the top of the white writing, which is 5. And let's go to 4. And we're going to attach these together so I don't get confused again. Sorry about this, folks. Maybe I'll edit this out. Now we go far away. Got to keep an eye on that one, though. Good, I can see the white writing. So it's the first number after the top of the white writing. All right, so now we go back to the line. Let's make this one a different color to make it more obvious. Let's go red. So it's the first number after the top of the white line. So there's that one. And I can't remember what I used on the other one. Son of a gun. My brain's not working well today. We used 4 because that's all we could see. All right. 4. Oh, my goodness. 4. And we'll connect these two up. Interesting. That is extremely interesting. Alrighty, sorry I had to take my sweater off. It was getting rather warm in here. Computers are hot. So then, in my personal opinion, if we assume by looking at Google that the base of the mountain is here, then with the camera this far to the ground, that base should have, as we saw, come up to meet the base of the other one. So it should be about here. As well as the tops of the mountains, which if we were really close would have started way far away, have dropped down. So that makes sense. The tops have indeed dropped as expected in that little experiment. But the base hasn't come up. So I would think what I should see if I can draw it, is something like what we see here. Let's make this one green. I just like playing with this now. We should see the tops of the mountains here. But the bottoms should be here. So these would actually be smaller because it did get smaller as it went away. Shrunk down. So these have shrunk down. We should see a lot more base, and we don't see a lot more base. So something is blocking this much base. Right? We only see the top half of this mountain. If optical drop were to happen, the mountains would be much smaller, and the bases would have come together according to those experiments that we did based on that proof of optical drop that we saw in the other video. So again, personal opinion, optical drop, it's scale. It happens both at the same time, and especially when we have our point of view at ground level, the grounds will come together and level out. And obviously the grounds are not coming together and leveling it out on this image. So that's just optical drop. We haven't talked about refraction. We haven't talked about anything else. All right, so then having said that, let me get back to here. I'm doing this all wrong. This then, ooh, I've lost it. Where'd it go? This one. Let's make it bigger. Plus. This then is the proof that the Earth is flat. So we'll notice that if we put our experiment here, we have optical drop, which means that this, because it's farther away, should be, if optical drop is indeed in play, be lower than this, right? It's higher, it's farther away. Farther away it gets, according to that initial experiment, farther away it gets, the more it drops. That should be way down here, according to optical drop. But according to our experiment, this kind of makes sense. Bottom has come up. It's a lot shorter than the other one, so the bottom has come up and the top has come down, just like we saw it should. And everything is happy, happy, happy. So there's a lot of talk about this horizon line being in the back behind the two. That's going to be a different video. Again, we're focusing on optical drop this time. Because this is how this same exact picture looks most of the time. So in the video that uses that picture as proof, this is from the same video. So this is what and in the video it says most of the time it looks like this. And even still, the optical drop, this is dropped down significantly more. I can't overlay them in this one. I lay in this picture. In fact, it's the opposite of optical drop. So we can't have, like I said at the beginning, it can't be true for this picture to make this proof or to disprove this one, and then not be true in this picture to prove. Right? So it's either true in both or not true in both. So the disproof of this one doesn't work. And we'll talk about these two images in a later video in terms of refraction and that kind of thing. But I did go and find some other images, and this was some more photos taken from in my neck of the woods. So the city of Toronto from across the bay. So here's the CN Tower. This is taken from New York, I believe. There's another one here that's labeled. Where's the labeled one? Here we go. So here's the labeled one. So taken from New York, state of New York, across at the wonderful city of Toronto, where I used to live. Yay! And we are missing a whole bunch of the CN Tower here. Right, so that should be more CN Tower, and it's not there. This guy actually did some math, but again, I don't really care about the math. I'm being more conceptual today. And basically says we're missing 600 feet. So optical drop would mean that the bottom would come down, but then the top would come down, sorry, but the bottom should also come up and meet. So optical drop, in again my personal opinion, doesn't work. And that's how I applied my critical thinking to it. So I hope that that was helpful, and I'm really hoping that when people hear stuff, they kind of go through the thought process and make sure that it's actually makes sense. Don't believe either side without putting your own thought process into it. Yes, so I've tried to be as objective as possible, and I've tried to, again, just look at that optical drop theory principle that, again, confused me because it's not something I have ever heard of before. And I have personally seen this many times. Looking across the lake, I do a lot of sea kayaking on the lake where I go way out and notice things dropping down below. In fact, when I go sea kayaking, I know when I lose the bay building, lose sight of the bay building for whatever reason, no judgment here, that's when it's time for me to turn around and start heading back in, because that means I'm going too far. All right, so that's it for optical drop. So we're going to stop it there. I hope everybody's happy and healthy and safe. And perhaps I'll do another one of these. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Otherwise, be sure to check out my Twitch channel. And I'll put links to as many of the videos that I used in this video down below, if I remember. And we will talk to you later.